Lincoln Douglas debates include some components that we haven't done before. And there's also some components that I want to review with you. For example, I want to go over some last minute discussion of cross-examination and rebuttals. I feel like we're getting them, but Lincoln Douglas debates also includes cross-examination. And unlike previous debates we've done, there are actually 2 rebuttals in Lincoln Douglas debates, which makes them a little bit different. The other thing that makes it a little bit different is the use of evidence cards. So we're going to talk about evidence cards as well today, what those are and how you use those. So the first thing, cross-examination. Make sure, like on the last 2 debates that you've done, that you have questions prepared ahead of time and think about line of reasoning. Remember that you can use cross-examination to set up your arguments, especially if you're on the negative side, which means that you positive or the affirmative side, your constructive goes first, and then there's the negative cross-examination, and then the negative constructive goes. So the negative cross-examination can actually use the first cross-examination to kind of introduce their own arguments, which is kind of helpful. Again, avoid asking open-ended questions because you don't want the power of the cross-examination to be taken away from you during cross-examination time. You want to think about yes, no questions, or very specifically, could you share just this with us? And be ready to cut the person off if they continue to talk. Okay. Be polite but direct with what question you are asking. And then if you are answering the questions, if you don't understand the question, have them clarify it, which you guys have been doing, especially because Zoom sometimes like cuts out and we don't hear like the entire question. It's okay to ask a clarifying question. It doesn't show any weakness. Try to give as direct answers as possible and try to avoid falling into the trap if you see the trap that they're setting for you. Okay, that's cross-examination reminders. Rebuttal reminders, I think we saw like at the end of the last debates. Remember I said that was the best rebuttal that I've seen so far. So we've seen that. Remember to be organized. Remember to listen to the other side. That was what set that rebuttal apart from some of the ones previously. Saying, you just said this is what we are answering that. So you want to make sure that you're answering all of the contentions and you're also thinking about the value and attacking the value. You also want to signpost in your rebuttal. So in your first contention, you said, in your second contention, you said, you want to make sure that the judge is able to follow which contention you are attacking. Sometimes you just say, like what I've seen some of you saying, you argued that, instead of like saying which contention it's in. When you point out the contention in your rebuttal that they had, it not only shows that you're a very organized arguer, but it also helps the judge give you the win. Okay, so that's rebuttals. Evidence cards, new thing. All right, so evidence cards is your collection of evidence that you have throughout your constructive as well as preparing for cross-examination and rebuttal. So they answer questions for cross-examination that someone might ask you about where you got your evidence from. Sometimes that's hard to do with looking at just your constructive, right? It's good to have a separate document or something like that that you can have available for you to look at evidence and pulled out separately from that. It also helps you prepare evidence against the other side and helps you in your rebuttal. The idea behind evidence cards and the brief is that it's a place where you put all of your evidence, whether you use it in your constructive or not. Because we know sometimes we get 3 or 4 different pieces of evidence and we're like, I can only fit in one because of the time limit here. But these other pieces of evidence are really good, but we frequently forget about those when we're defending ourselves. So evidence cards allows for a place for that evidence to be stored. Okay, so what they are, you need to have between 10 and 15. That's like a basis of what I'm looking for, about 3 to 5 pieces of evidence per contention. If it's less than 10, it's not like your head's going to be chopped off or anything like that. It's just that you want to be as prepared as possible. And you're going to be sharing that document with me via Schoology. So you should have the idea that you are arguing with evidence and not just arguing with opinion. So anticipate the other's main points and find evidence to counter it and put that on your evidence cards. Okay, so typical evidence cards for an actual competitive debate look something like this. They are literally 3x5 cards that people have filled out, and they have boxes of index cards that they bring to debate tournaments about different topics and different things. And they can flip through them really quickly and pull them out. Because we are digital and not that, I have prepared a digital document for you. So that Google Doc evidence cards that you see in daily class plans, if you click on that, those of you in your groups, if you are the first person alphabetically in your group, I want you to make a copy of that. If you are the first person alphabetically in your group, or obviously if you're working alone, make a copy of that document that you opened already for yourself. And if you have a partner, share it with your partner. So you're going to be copying evidence that you have not only in your constructive and putting it in there, but also what was not, especially what was not used in the speech. Make sure you have the complete quotation or evidence, copy and paste it right into that online evidence card, and that you have a citation. You'll notice when you open up that evidence cards document that there's a point where it says, I think it says source and reliability or credibility of the source. So it's not, in Lincoln Douglas debates, it's not just about knowing the source where it came from, but why it's a good source. Because someone can challenge you on the quality of your source. So explaining why it's such a credible source is really an important thing to have on your evidence cards. Okay. Don't worry about this because this is all kind of like centered for you because I've created that for you for your Lincoln Douglas debate. On your document, make sure that you are also including if there is something that supports the negative or affirmative side. So if you are attacking the other side, make sure you somehow label your evidence card as an attack, evidence that attacks versus evidence that supports. That's basically what that is. Okay. Awesome. That is last minute details about Lincoln Douglas debates, evidence cards, rebuttals, cross-examination. Now we're going to talk in class just a little bit more about those evidence cards to make sure you understand